right, guys, time for more vintage on the channel. Today, I'm going to be playing Esper Lurrus, the premier control deck of the format. The most popular version of it is Dimir. Dimir has better mana base. Dimir has worse card quality. So, yeah, I want to try this version out. The better card quality being Swords to Plowshares. Swords kills, a lot of things, no questions asked, where Fatal Push needs a little bit of work. Hollow One, Wormcoil Engines, that kind of stuff is going to be the main driving factor. Then I also play 2 copies of Lavinia. Lavinia is a pretty good vintage card, right? Shuts off acceleration, shuts off forces on the side of the opponent, even shuts off decks trying to accelerate out something like the One Ring or Coveted Jewel. That should be pretty good. Bowmasters and Frog are the meat and potatoes of the deck. Tons of interaction here between 3 Pierces, 7 Forces, a Daze, and a Misstep. We try and keep things moving with Gitaxian Probe and Brainstorm, and then we try and draw extra cards with Delve Spells and Ancestral Recall. The Time Twister I like in this deck because of Bowmaster. It makes Bowmaster a good card against non-blue. The problem with Bowmasters is not, being good against blue. It sure knows how to do that. So playing Time Twister gives you a way to make it good against like Mono White Initiative or Dredge or whatever the case may be. Or a little bit of combo here. And you can just pitch it to a Force or a Frog if you need to. Actually, I'm going to change this Ancestral Recall. I want to play the other one for good luck. So let's see. There we go. Yeah, that's what we want to see. So yeah, the sideboard. White also offers Containment Priest, which is good against Oath and Dredge at the same time. Consent of Memory, good against, workshop decks essentially. Fatal Pushes and Dismember, more removal for the Mirror, good removal for Mono White. A couple of Null Rods for the big blue decks, and then some Graveyard Hate to round it out to not be bad against the big bad Dredge. Let's get into some games. All right, round 1, I'm playing Esper Lurrus. Could be the mirror match here. Both have revealed Lurrus. And yeah, my opponent is a chatter. Pretty awesome to see. They watched the video, copied the deck, did well at a tournament. Disappointed, not tabating. Okay, yeah, that's a strategy. I don't think you can be disappointed about not tabating. Tabating is one tiny fraction of the tournament, but yeah. 6-2, that sounds awesome for the opponent. This hand can do a little bit of everything. Okay, I guess I'm up against the unfair version, so that actually makes my hand slightly better because of Lavinia. Now I have turn 1 Lavinia. I mean, don't mind if I do. Opponent milled over Demonic Tutor. So here I'm going to fetch Tundra, cast Lavinia. Lavinia is probably a must counter for the opponent, and I will happily trade forces here. Lavinia is especially potent in combination with Wasteland, because I can delay my opponent's stock up for a long time. Worth noting is that the plow in my hand is probably bad. Let's see. Here's Force Pitch, Brain Freeze. Okay, so the opponent's on that version of the deck, essentially a couple of Underworld Breaches instead of Snapcaster and stuff like that. Okay, opponent makes a land drop here. Probably has no play, to be honest. And then, okay, well played, well played. Oh, they play Manic Portal Hole. Wow. I'm not sure I've seen that in a very long time, but obviously very, very, very good for the opponent here. I'm actually gonna Wasteland here. I could have put Lurrus to hand, but I think it's better to try and prevent my opponent from playing the game. Yeah, Manic Portal Hole, that is brutal. Yeah, the hits keep on coming here. That's unfortunate. Wow, Manic Portable Hole. That's certainly something. I remember at some point it was viable. I can't really remember why. Maybe people played Bane Deck Null Rod. So let's see what the opponent's up to here. So if they draw 3 from Paradoxical Outcome, then how does the world look? Then I get back Lavinia, then they can recast it next turn. Yeah, they can resolve a draw 3 here. I'm probably just dead, but let's see. So now, do I want to surveil before drawing my card? I don't think so. I think it's better to draw my card than use that info and the fact that I can spike the untapped land, but I didn't. So let's see. This Tundra is gone, I believe. So the opponent could have went for some draw shenanigans here. Do I like this card? I think I like this card because then I'm going to go pierce the PO. Okay, the opponent waits here. Also, the opponent has force backup, which is going to be a big challenge. So here comes the maybe just main phase draw 2. The opponent plays around Pierce like a champ. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. So a draw 2 is beatable, yet annoying. If the opponent does not have a land, I will Spell Pierce this Mana Vault, because Mana Vault is just so good at paying for Spell Pierce later, so I might as well. Okay, well, my opponent's sure has me covered here. Portable clutch misstep. Yeah. Not ideal. Let's see. Pass. They know about the Bowmaster. They know about the Plow. They don't know about the second Bowmaster for whatever that's worth. So maybe this is a good turn to go Lurrus. Draw 2 out of Flame of Anor. Sure. Yo gone. So now I should probably play the Bowmaster out that my opponent knows about. Force a Will. Pitch Sink into Stupor. 2 cards in hand. Okay. I can't imagine this being good for me. When the opponent counters that card, it's probably over. Let's see. Underworld Breach. Draw a ton of cards. Yep, that'll do it. Yeah, Underworld Breach is amazing if you can natural draw some of your good cards, right? Then it's kind of like Yawgmoth's Will. So playing against that deck, I actually only have a couple of Null Rods. I guess Spellbomb is better than a Plow as well. And now comes the question if one Plow even makes sense. I think one Plow is playable. Would I want Consign instead? I want Consign instead for the blue card. The thing is, Plow is basically just killing like a 1/2. Killing the Otter. That's quite bad. So maybe I just have a Consign. I think that's fine. It's blue for all my forces. It's can counter Portable Hole ETB as well. Ooh, turn 1 Psychic Frog. So let's keep this hand. I'll play Lotus first to give my opponent the impression I don't have backup, and then I'm dreaming of getting forced. Did not happen. So now the problem with this is I have to fight over Portable Hole, Pyroblast, Ancestral Recall, sheesh. have to fight over removal here. I think this is quite good for me. Okay, so this is very good for me. So I invest a lot of cards, but I get the frog going here, which is great. Ancestral, yeah, that card is incredible. Let's see if we can kind of build our own ancestral here. Frog. So now I can choose between holding up double pierce or developing another frog. So maybe the move is to pass and then hopefully find a land next turn. I think that's decent. Here comes Thunder Trap Trainer. Portable Hole. Okay. So next turn, Pierce is kind of off. So now let's go for Surveil. Under City Sewers. Here's a Brainstorm. I'm not sure I like that card. I'm going to try and put it to the graveyard. I really want to find... Yeah, okay, there it is. So let's exile 3 cards. Fly in with the frog. So now I've drawn 2 extra cards off Psychic Frog, which is obviously incredible. Force of Will. Beautiful. So now I go land, frog. Here's a force if I have to. So now we're thinking about is the trainer is still, you know, can be an annoying blocker, but I like my position here. Let's see how the opponent crushes me here. The opponent has a lot of stuff in play. I think I'm supposed to like let one frog die. That Lotus is dangerous because now Lurrus is on the table. I guess I hope my opponent goes for Lurrus because then I can force it. All right. Opponent's new to Vintage, or, you know, old new. That's really cool. Perfect. The opponent's on Twitter. Always love to know that. So let's see what the opponent can come up with here. 5 cards in hand. One of them is a portable hole. Let's see, opponent. I came to play Magic. It's also cool to chat, of course, but, you know, I'm recording for my YouTube channel over here. So this position is weird. This position is weird. Let's see. My opponent knows I have Fluster or Spell Pierce. So let's show them that card. And now, if the opponent forces back, I'm very happy to get Miles out of my Pierce. But they didn't. Okay, so now this Spell Pierce is a little bit... I guess it's got a lot better after my opponent sacked the Black Lotus. Let me put it that way. So now I have an annoying choice because I have to discard Spell Pierce, but I think that's okay. My opponent blocks here. I discard a Spell Pierce. I think that's totally reasonable. So now I draw a card off the other frog. I'm trying to turn the corner here. Huh. So, do I think my opponent's going off next turn? That's kind of the thing. Let me just pass here. If I was not scared to die at all, I could, you know, play Frog here and overload the Portable Hole. But I'm not sure. I'm actually also going to let Portable Hole resolve here. That deck is a little bit weird because it could just win out of nowhere. And then I might have done a lot of stuff to protect what isn't really the most important thing about the game. Here's Demonic Tutor. So that is a card I'm gonna hardcast Negation. And then I'm gonna lose one of my creatures, and then we kind of start over here. I think that's reasonable. Because Demonic Tutor is, you know, real gas. So that card is dead. All right. Let's see. So attack for 1. Draw a card, play another frog, set myself up for a dominating longer game, but can obviously lose shorter game. Let's play that card. Yeah, I mean, I'm shields down. Let's see how the opponent can take advantage. Here's a stock up. That resolves. So now it's very likely my opponent can put together a brutal next turn. Let's see. Did I... Oh, 2 mana from Academy. Okay, the opponent's not done here. Let's see. So my Brainstorm is gone, so I guess I don't need Shuffle Effect for anything. Yeah, double stock up. It's pretty cool to see that I've been hitting with a frog for so many turns, and my opponent can still just catch up, right? I guess this Ancestral made things very complicated. Ancestral double stock up trainer, and you're just dominating the frogs. So I'm going to fetch a Tundra, go to my draw step, and then I think it's about time I find something like a Null Rod or a Force, or I could be in big trouble. So fetch Tundra. No Bowmaster. Lauren revealed. That's not bad, but I could draw something better off the frogs to spend 5 mana on. So let's see. That is going to be a good one. Let's draw Bowmaster. Wasteland. Huh. So killing Academy could be good. Drawing 3 could also be good. So I guess I will kill Academy and pass. I think that's better. But yeah, who knows? Also, my opponent now has a little bit of info since I did not play... Oh, sorry, put Lurrus to hand. So let's see what this is. 3 mana, Flame of an Ore. Deal 5 to a frog. That is alrighty. Portable Hole. Kill a frog. Okay, so I will now play Bowmasters to, you know, put up pressure, I guess. Opponent has 2 cards. I wonder what those are. I guess if the opponent could have, you know, won, they would have just done it, right? So it's not that. So if I attack my opponent down to 8 here, ping them to 7, that's probably the play. And let me try and Bowmaster my way out of this. Basically making Paradoxical Outcome a bad draw. My opponent's hand could be Paradoxical Outcome plus Force of Will. I don't think that is insane. With the way they played this game. So let me attack for 3 down to 6. So now I have EO locked down. I couldn't do anything about Reach. So I think that's reasonable to get rid of. To not cast Allure Revealed, I would have to get incredibly lucky for that to work. And I'll just put Lurrus to hand and make my opponent beat me, essentially. Here comes Surveil, and the opponent knows they kind of have to win now. Let's see if they manage to do exactly that. I'm hoping to see a card hit the graveyard here. Let me put it that way. A card hits the graveyard. Here comes something the opponent maybe considered last turn. Flame of Anor killing a Bowmaster. Then the opponent can draw some cards, I guess. That could be it. Okay, Merchant Scroll. I don't think that deck runs Dig Through Time. It's pretty cool that with the Breach package, you're getting mileage out of Merchant Scroll. You know, go and get Brain Freeze, win the game. But they just tap their red mana, so I don't think I'm getting breached. Here's Flame of Anor. Would you tap your red mana? Okay, yeah, that's very bad. So I would have attacked my opponent down to 1. Draw. Misstep. That doesn't really do anything. Then draw 1, draw 2, draw 3. Yeah, I mean, I could have been in trouble here. Who knows? Who knows? So let's see. I was very lucky to win that game. Otter is so annoying, but casting removal is just on that card is so bad. I think I should rely on counters and frogs. But the opponent just has so many answers to frog. Pyroblast, Portable Hole, Swords to Plowshares, probably. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I got a little lucky there. That could be a tough matchup. So I can force once and refill with a Delve spell. That's not bad. Mana Vault, sure. So that card doesn't do a whole lot. 4th land is atrocious for me. Let's lead on a Lotus here. Yeah, the opponent doesn't need a great hand to beat me here. They just need, unfortunately, the average hand, which is like a piece of gas with a backup. Passing the turn. Not passing the turn. Stock up. Yeah, I'm going to counter stock up by sacrificing... let's think. So my opponent could have Fluster here. But that also works on my Delve spell. So let's do the math here. If I pitch Treasure Cruise, I have 1 card in the yard. Then I fetch 2 cards in the yard. I could fetch to the graveyard, 3 cards in the yard. Sack Lotus, 4 cards in the yard. Sack Fetch, 5 cards in the yard. And then I can actually play around. Maybe I should draw 3. Maybe Cruise is slightly better than Dig Through Time here. Because I kind of have to trust my own deck. Okay, let's try this out. Counter that card. Did not get forced back. The opponent is hopefully left with a tap Mana Vault here. Let's see. Brain Freeze. Okay, so opponent is kind of making Underworld Breach slightly better here. The opponent's down to 3 cards. Let's see what we can do here. Fetch. Hopefully find a good card and cruise into some more good cards, but let's see. Psychic Frog, that is a good card, if I ever saw one. So now, let's think. 3 cards in the yard, 4 cards in the yard. Yeah, I think I need to draw... I need to draw 3 here. And I need to get rid of the Lotus, so Treasure Cruise. Holding up 1 mana is important because I play Spell Pierce. Draw Force Will and Demonic Tutor. Not bad, not bad. So, probably a hit in this game. But I don't think it's by that much. Let's see what this is. This could be just a must counter, right? Stock up. I'm certainly going to counter. Opponent with 2 cards in hand. Opponent decided to cast this Breach. So I'm certainly countering this card, and now the question becomes, what am I tutoring for? I could tutor Nile Spellbomb and jam it. Don't think that's terrible. Feel like I need this Brainstorm to fix this hand at some point. What happens if I Brainstorm now? I think maybe that's decent. Then I can probably shuffle away one of the lands. So now I need some solid cards and get rid of the Underground Sea, essentially. Yeah, these are solid cards, so let me think. Vexing Bauble. So now I could go Vexing Bauble. Vexing Bauble. Vexing Bauble, Demonic Tutor. Maybe? Null Rod looks decent as well. Then I can never crack my Bauble. I feel like this is the key turn. So maybe the move is Bauble. So Bauble shuts off 0s. This card is tapped. Maybe the Null Rod is not that good, so maybe I can get rid of Null Rod entirely. Play Bauble, play Demonic Tutor. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Let's see if it works out for him. Force a Will to stock up. One with 2 cards in hand. The 4th land is good if I need to Frog. Is Frog my best tutor target? So I go Bauble, Demonic Tutor for Frog. The next turn, jam 2 Frogs. Interesting. Because Frog, probably one of them will stick. Then the question becomes, is it better to just get Ancestral Recall in that case? All of those tough decisions. Yeah, okay. So at least this is a good game for the camera. So now could also just cast this one and see what happens, essentially. But I know it's going to die, right? Okay, let's play the Frog out, learn a little bit more about my opponent's hand, and then hopefully make a good Demonic Tutor. Okay. So Plow, we kind of knew about. So whether this is Plow, Hole, or Pyroblast, not that important, I think. 3 mana. Could be Cat to hand. Lurrus to hand. With no resources to cast it, though. I think I should go Demonic Tutor Ancestral here. And kind of play from here. Demonic Tutor, Ancestral Recall. No removal in my deck, though. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how I maneuvered this. I think with no Lurrus answers in my deck, this could be a little bit bad. Let's see what the opponent can do. 4 cards in hand. Pass. Okay. So let's see. What do I do here? I draw Urza's Saga. That's actually a pretty good card for when I don't have to do anything. So now I have to answer the question of, do I hold up negation or cast a draw 3? And I think I'm going to cast a draw 3 here. I'm not sure how it backfires. Pyro is the obvious one. But that's not really a backfire. That's mainly just what the opponent needs to do to not lose, essentially. So still Bobble in play. Opponent has a bunch of bad draws. But any white source or black source will enable Lurrus. I dodge Disaster and I draw a Frog. That's pretty cool. So should I keep my opponent busy with a Frog? Or should I hold up negation? I'm actually gonna hold up negation here. Interesting. The opponent must also know that something is up here. So if my opponent finds that land, it's Lurrus plus Soul Ring out of the graveyard. Okay, so there's the land for next turn. So we kind of know our opponent has no play here. And it's up to my constructs to start getting there, essentially. I will fight over removal at this point, so that one, that draw. Guess the only positive thing is this enables... Ooh, wait a minute. Is Nile Spellbomb good? Nile Spellbomb? Bracket in response to the Lurrus, maybe? Maybe I don't care about Soul Ring. So let's see, what's the alternative here? The alternative is find a Mana Rock, play Psychic Frog with mana up. Then attack my opponent down to 8. Then I'm forcing the Chump Block next turn and kind of interfering with my opponent's plans here with the Frog. Maybe that's just better. Let's go Mox Jet. Let's attack for 4. Okay. 8. Here's Psychic Frog. Could get Pyroed, of course. Resolves. So now Lurrus is going to resolve on the side of my opponent. I go to 7 here. Lurrus puts them to 10. Okay, they find another land, which is probably annoying, but let's see. Looks like Lurrus. But even then, what's the plan with that Lurrus? The opponent would need to unblock here. Yeah, that's not really sustainable. Yeah, this is actually one of the greatest games of Vintage I've had in a while, because there's so much maneuvering here. Am I trying to win? Am I trying to not lose? And then I randomly draw this Saga to answer that question. Let's see. The opponent needs a plan. One card is a Lurrus, and I'm sure there's some random crap getting shut down by the bauble. But funnily enough, yeah, I could have went for Niall's Spellbomb instead of Mox, but it actually enabled Play Frog, hold up Hardcast Negation. That's not bad. Let's see what this is. Underworld Breach. I should counter this card because this represents Time Walk, etc., etc., etc. So let's do that. And now it's up to the opponent. But okay, here's a Lurrus, which is a glorified chum blocker. Sure. So what can I do here? Draw Force of Will is probably insane. So let's jump the frog. 1, 2, 3. So now let's see how much damage I'm getting in for. And whether I'm discarding the Pearl. Discarding the Pearl seems a little inconsequential, but also might as well. Let's do this. Lurrus is dead, and now my opponent has to beat me through Force of Will. So let's see. Would that deck ever run Spell Pierce? What? You have 7 mana, so I could play Psychic Frog. I'm trying to imagine a situation where my opponent wins because they play, like, some trainers, essentially. But I'm not sure that's a thing. What if they have double removal? Then this card is not lethal. I think that leads me to playing another frog, but it's not. Oh, I even forgot about the mana vault. Okay, so then maybe playing that card out is a bad play. In theory, my opponent could tech balance into this deck. Here's Thunder Trap Trainer that is currently not that great. It does turn on Flame of Anor. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm unreasonably scared of balance here. And it's correct to counter this card, but I'm not sure how this backfires from here. That was a pretty sick match. Really happy I got to play this one. Lots of maneuvering here. That's what you want to see, right? Showcase a little bit of some tough situations. We had some previous videos where that wasn't really the case. I was just crushing the opponent. But here, I got to work for it. So, yeah, speaking about work, let's see if we can play some more matches. All right, guys, thanks for letting me interrupt the video briefly here. I have a couple of tournaments I want to talk a little bit about. Equiternal Weekend Vintage is on the horizon, September 27th. On a Saturday, we will play out. These are the details. It's going to be a $30 entry with a $10 discount for members. Prizes are going to feature painting by Kai Sawatarix. Kai and you working together, executing exactly what you want to have happen on this painting. Incredible opportunity. The legacy version is already in the books, and the winner is planning with Kai as we speak. Then tons of treasure chests, and then the top finishers, I will award 1 ticket each for the main event at Eternal Weekend EU and NA. So basically 1 for each. We will coordinate so, you know, the right guys get the proper free entry, right? And all of that is thanks to Card Titan, 4 Seasons, and Boost MTG. So thank you very, very much for supporting the Eternal community. Use the link below to purchase your ticket, or, you know, message me and we'll figure it out. Second thing is my next Eco Cup is coming. So this is going to be a 32-player double elimination bracket played in one go on the day. This is going to be Saturday before Eternal Weekend. You have the entry... I'm sorry, you have the details here. It's going to be free for all members, and it's going to be a $10 guest ticket. Here are the prices. And yeah, again, we have 2 top finishers, and they will each get a main event ticket for Eternal Weekend US or Eternal Weekend EU in the Legacy main event. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on, and I hope to see you there. All right, more vintage, more Lurrus on Lurrus action. We have a fine hand here, but we're on the draw and we're playing vintage, so better not get too excited. All right, main deck Soul Guide Lantern. Mox Emerald reveals that we're not playing against the actual mirror. So does Volcanic Island, to be honest. Huh. Wasteland. Wasteland onto the Volcanic does not sound bad. That actually sounds decent to me. So let's see. What else are we working with? I could go turn 1 Bauble. Turn 1 Bauble should stop a lot of shenanigans. So maybe if I go turn 1 Wasteland Bauble, the opponent has to do something about that, and then next turn I can Wasteland, kind of see what's going on. My opponent is setting up for turn 2 stock up here, which I don't love. Maybe I should just cast Ancestral Recall on my opponent's upkeep. This way, if I draw a land, you know, either from the Ancestral or natural, I can Lavinia the following turn. Oh wow, yeah, this is a lot of cool stuff. So I will fetch, I guess with this hand, I should fetch Tundra? Is that how it works? Because then Mox Sapphire helps me. Okay. So let's cast Ancestral. I will say this Volcanic Island smells a little bit of a 1-mana counter. Also, this doesn't look like a Wasteland deck. Could be important. That's the main problem of this deck, or the main cost you're paying for having white cards in your deck. Is essentially Wasteland gets better against you. Let's see what this Ancestral does. So, okay, it eats a Force of Will, so that's a bit sad for my Vexing Bauble plans, but yeah, this had Pierce, Fluster, Pyro written all over it. Here's 4 mana turn 2, seems totally fair. Lures to hand, 2 mana away from being able to cast it, so it's not that bad. I draw Underground Sea, which is certainly a good card, so maybe this is time to play Lavinia and then worry about Wastelanding next turn. Huh. What's the other move? The other move is go waste onto Academy. So maybe play Bauble first, then waste the Academy. Wait a minute. If I waste the Academy, the opponent will just cycle the Lantern, but maybe that's not the end of the world. The thing is, I'm losing to stock-ups right now, so I want to make a good move to beat stock-up. So let's see. If I play Lavinia, my opponent needs a land to cast stock-up. If I Wasteland them, my opponent needs a land to cast stock-up. Okay, so maybe that's the answer to my question. Let's cast Lavinia, and then hopefully hit them with a good Wasteland next turn. I wouldn't be shocked if my opponent cracks Soul Guide here. To either look for Force of Will or simply just get to the land. But if they have the land already, like land stock up, that's what I don't want to see. The opponent had Lurrus and 2 unknowns. They didn't crack the spell 1 end of turn. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm officially scared now. Okay, so they kind of wasted a mana a little bit here. It also floated for Tolarian. Ooh, now they have to pass. That is not good for the opponent. Now they had to pass. I feel like the opponent's playing too many good red cards. I would happily leave them in this situation. Playing just, you know, blue from Academy. So a card like Soul Ring would be annoying, but I just drew Mental Misstep because the zeros are already accounted for. I feel like I should play this Vexing Bauble, but with the intention to crack it end of turn. Pass. So if I crack at end of turn, my constructs are smaller. My opponent can't play, you know, the acceleration stuff anyway. Yeah, let's crack a bauble. Lavinia looks insane here, right? Here's Plow. So now I can cast Treasure Cruise if I want to, but I actually think getting Saga going here is going to be great. There's so many cards my opponent can't cast. And then I have to think a little bit about then what am I going to do next turn, because I'm probably going to make tokens. I'm really delaying the cruise. Maybe that's bad. Maybe now is the time to cruise, essentially. Yeah, I'm going to Treasure Cruise now. I changed my mind on that one, because it's going to be awkward. If I play Saga, I can't do it anyway next turn. I feel like this is the better way to do it. So the only card that crushes me here is exactly Flusterstorm. I have Pierce covered with Misstep. Opponent can't cast Force of Will. Let's see. Because I kind of want to get to the... Just have some kind of force here. It's pretty cool I play against that deck twice. I think that's very typical vintage deck, what people love to play. Big blue, baby. All right. Test my opponent for Fluster. Ooh, nice one. All right. Cruise gets flustered. Very good exchange for my opponent because I delayed, you know, no companion, no saga, and I just got flustered. So next turn I can develop saga, put Lurrus to hand, hold up Plow, I guess. Let's see. I'm not happy about this pause for my opponent because they might be plotting something. Let's see. All right, no play. Draw Force Will. It's incredible. Attack with Lavinia. That deck does play a single Snapcaster. I just thought about that. Switch to Plowshares has that covered. Land. Lurrus, pass. So, Treasure Cruise ate my bauble, so no Lurrus recursion as we speak, but you know, 3-2 is a 3-2. There's a land. And now my opponent's going to cast Merchant Scroll. Yeah, that card is probably going to fetch Ancestral Recall, and then I'm going to misstep my opponent. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. The opponent could just tap their Mox there. All right. Weird stuff going on. Probe, I think I'm firing. Let me fire a Gataxian Probe. I get to see the whole hand, not just the Ancestral or the Lurrus. Probably just some uncastables, right? So, yeah, bunch of uncastables. That's good to know about. Let's see. Yeah, this is great. So now I go attack. Pass. Then I'm going to misstep the Ancestral, despite having Bowmasters. I think it's a lot better. Paradoxical outcome, very hard to cast on the Lavinia. Yeah, Lavinia doing a lot of work here, to say the least. And now I'm just looking to close out my opponent. Let's see. Tap Academy. I will misstep. And that's probably all she wrote, but let's see how much fight the opponent has in him. All right. Game 1 in the bag. And we got some practice against that deck, I guess. So who knows if that's the Breach version, but I like Nile Spellbomb over, random stuff. Maybe, just maybe, what I just learned is that having a single plow in your deck doesn't hurt too much. Time Twister's quite bad, but I think with 7 forces, it's decent. And then, on any given Sunday, I can set up some Bowmaster shenanigans. All right, let's try this. Playing against what I used to call Monkey PO because of Unlucky Monkey crushing everybody week in and week out. And in the beginning, lots of guys were laughing at the Wizard package, like Trainer and Flame of Anor. But Monkey made them pay again and again and again. And then all of a sudden it became the most played deck in Vintage at 20-25%. And then it kind of has died down a little bit. But I really think that deck is awesome. I think it's a really sweet deck. Get to play a lot of cool cards. Full set of Moxen. A little bit of Lurrus Recursion. And then recently, somebody tinkered with the Underworld Breach package as well as a way to add a little bit of redundancy. Make the deck a little bit harder to play against, essentially. Because Underworld Breach is just frequently a good card. Like, replay your Time Walk or your Ancestral or both or some Plows or whatever. It's just solid, right? But then when you add just a single Brain Freeze to your deck, all of a sudden you can win on the spot. All right, weird hand here. I'm up a game. I'm playing Esper Lurrus versus the paradoxical outcome version of the deck. And I have a Zero Lander here, but this is Vintage, so cycle into a land, cast Ancestral Recall, even have Daze backup. This works. This works. No defense for my opponent's turn 1, though. Okay, this could be Ancestral. The Island Pass. It was not Ancestral. So, obviously, the opponent could be holding Fluster. Let's see. This looks like Spell Pierce to me with this pause. Who knows? There's a Spell Pierce. So, yeah, you got it. So now I'm going to play Vexing Bauble, I believe. Because then next turn I can cycle and go for Underground Sea, cast Ancestral Recall. That's not bad. Ooh, Ursa Saga. That's a good one, especially because my hand cannot wasteland it. Unless I draw a land. Scrolling for Ancestral. Okay, so my opponent's... Yeah, I'm in trouble here. Let's see. I have to cycle this. I am in trouble. Now I'll cast my Ancestral Recall. My opponent can do the same. Problem is they have Ursa Saga going. No land here. Nullrod is pretty darn awesome, though. So now with shields down, my opponent knows they can resolve Ancestral, but they choose not to. Okay. They choose to do it. So that means no Saga. So if I kill it now... That sounds pretty decent. I feel like I have to draw land. If I don't draw land, I'm heavily considering cracking the bubble. Maybe my opponent gives me a good reason to slam Alrod. Land. Okay. So... I think I have to crack my bauble. Play Mox. Play Nullrod. Huh. The opponent has 6 cards. And I'm sitting over here doing nothing. And if I draw land here, I can still wasteland my opponent. Yeah, let's try this. Land. That is incredible for me. So now I think what I should do is go no Pierce up. Pierce is not going to do anything here. Okay, I'm going to fetch Tundra. Because I'm going to just assume this Null Rod sticks. Fetch Tundra. Play Null Rod. So now what is the plan? If this sticks, I'm wastelanding Volcanic Island. If this gets countered, I'm killing Ursa Saga. Yeah, this is super rough. Because I have to dodge also Spell Pierce, but I don't think it's reasonable. If I wasteland my opponent here, and I get forced. Yeah, maybe I should have. Okay. Okay. I think I should have wasteland before. So it did end up somewhat reasonably for me here. So now you will want my opponent to have a Black Lotus in rotation, essentially. Like, should probably kill this Saga here. Because if the opponent gets a Black Lotus in rotation, makes Underworld Breach lethal very soon, makes Lurrus insane. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably doing poorly in this game. I think I'm trying my best over here. I must counter here. If, funnily enough, if my opponent goes stock up, I will daze it to leave mana vault tapped. My opponent brings Lurrus to hand. Oh. My opponent is already interested in casting stock up and having mana up. I'm dreaming of a daze to connect here, I must say. Also, something worth noting is the opponent has Pyro Plow a lot of the time at this stage of the game, which essentially makes Lavinia unreliable as a hate bear. Could also see if I can find a window for the Bowmaster situation. Okay, so this looks like a draw 3 that pays for... Oh, this 4th Yolingus played around days. Love to see it. Yeah, I mean, you got me. 4th Yolingus played around days. Beautiful, really. Days is one of in my deck. So that sure worked. What is the move now? I think the move now is rely on the Bowmaster Twister combo. Yeah, this is really tough. Bowmaster Twister combo, which Force Negation doesn't even cover. So I think what I should do is if the opponent attacks, it's going to be Slam Bowmaster, ping a token, block a token, take 2, and then try and work my way from there. Great game. Great game. Yeah, I've been quite lucky today with awesome games. I hope you guys are enjoying the vintage show. Vintage used to be my bread and butter. Card like Lurrus would also kind of crush me here. But maybe playing, put it into hand, put it into play. Maybe that's too big of an investment and the opponent wants to hold up some stuff. Let's see what kind of operation we're facing. Vintage is beautiful. Vintage sure is beautiful. Here's Sapphire. One has 6 mana. 7 mana. So it looks like the opponent's got Hardcast Force of Will. Let's see about that. So now Flash the Bowmaster. I didn't count if this is lethal. Probably should count if this is lethal before blocking. So let's see. If I Bowmaster my opponent down to 17, they draw end of turn. 16. I now have a 2/2. I now cast Time Twister. Then it'll be a 9/9. I'll put them to... Yeah, okay, so it's lethal if I take the damage. I think I should do that. I think I should not worry too much about these guys and then hope that Bowmasters with Force and Negation backup is enough. Also, the opponent knows something's up here since I passed. Look at this beautiful artwork. Time Twister. Then it's some Hourglass Hurricane. Pretty darn cool. Let's see, opponent. The Lurrus would be annoying. I will say that. This game was sweet, right? We both resolved Ancestral Recall. I guess I was playing a little bit from behind, to say the least. Bad mana situation. Okay, Lurrus to hand. So that Lurrus is unfortunately going to be a blocker for the Orc army. Lurrus. Let me see if I can set up a trap here. Let me go Orcish Bowmasters. Oh no! Ah, I messed up. I could have killed the Lurrus end of turn. Whoops. I could have killed the Lurrus end of turn, right? This is very bad. So, but this is good, right? We're here to learn. So now I've learned that Orcish Bowmasters, if it pings twice, it kills a 3/2. And you have learned that if you have this spot, you just go to the end step, you respond to the King trigger, play Bowmaster, ping Lurrus once, they draw a card, ping Lurrus a second time, you untap, and you maybe win the game with a Time Twister. But instead, I get to play the game here. I get to play more. It would be no fun if I just won here, right? So now I feel like I should kill a 2/2. Right? Yeah, I should probably kill a 2/2 here. That is outrageously bad. But also incredibly funny. Magic is a complicated game. Sometimes the win is right there. Lurrus resolves. Pass. Draw. Kill that card. So no, basically force blue card crushes me. So let's see. Oh my god. Black Lotus. I am in for a Black Lotus. What a draw. Let's see if we can make something cool happen here anyway. Let me check. How many plows do I have? I have 1 plow in my deck. But the thing is, the Lurrus is gonna... Lurrus is gonna die to Bowmaster pings here. So now comes the question, am I doing anything before this Twister? or do I want mana available? And I think I want mana available. I think the move here is to float a blue for a Twister. All right, time Twister. Flooded Strand getting cracked. Do I get to daze my way here? That would be pretty sick. I think I got to daze. Get to daze here, so float blue. Float blue, daze, back the Tundra. No land drop made. Lots of mana floating. Twister resolves. And now, let's see, kill the Lurrus. Should probably, let's see, kill that card, ping my opponent for 5, attack my opponent. I think that's the move. Could also kill a 2/2. Okay, I'll kill a 2/2 as well. We're still playing this game because I played poorly. I don't like playing poorly. So let's see. Those are dead. I can deal 10. Let's see. Probe is probably good here. Let's pay life. I think that's reasonable. Trying to draw a time walk over here. Wow, null rod. Let's see. Gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I'm gonna play null rod, and my opponent is in trouble. Let's play rod. And I'm thinking I should wasteland my opponent to prevent them from doing too much stuff. Yeah, so let's wasteland the, I guess the white source, because if they draw Academy, I want it to be a little bit more awkward. All right. Magic is a crazy game, and blink and you miss a detail. So something like Merchant Scroll can go and get Chain of Vapor, that type of deal. So limiting my opponent's mana is important. Getting in for 10, drawing an extra card, passing with triple-ish counter backup thanks to the null rod, making sure soft counters actually work. So wait a minute, what could I have done here? No, I played well, because the 2/2 was going to be blocking the 9/9 next turn, so this is well played. Ancestral is not a card, because the Bowmaster Pyroblast requires extra mana. So in theory, I left my opponent with double Pyroblast open, but I think that's totally fine. Bowmaster's Twister doing work. Let's see if my opponent has more life in him here. That'd be cool. I guess I'll get back when the opponent is back. All right, the opponent is back. Send the clowns. Become the monarch. Draw land. My opponent's at 3 thanks to the mana vault, which is a bad number with an ancestral against a Bowmasters. Even at 4, you know, draw 3 cards, draw Academy, draw answer for null rod, that kind of jazz. But now it's going to be very, very hard for the opponent. Here's Tundra. The thing is, my opponent's so pressured on mana that I'm just fighting over things here to get to my turn and win. Okay, they found an answer for the token. So funnily enough, what do I do about that? I think I let this happen, which is super funny. Okay, token dead. So now it's probably a Merchant Scroll that I'm piercing. And then I'm dazing for the second time this game for map value here, which is insane. So scroll gone. And then my opponent's getting dazed once more. Daze. So funnily enough, the opponent can maybe win if they draw a Thunder Trap Trainer. Another Null Rod. Attack for 1. What if they draw 4th Eolingus? Oh, maybe that's not good because of drawing cards. Pyro's gone. The opponent has exactly Outcome Ancestral Pyro and Bauble in hand. Draw on the end step trigger. Inconsequential Loran reveal. I guess it's a better pitch than Frog. Here's my opponent untapping Mana Vault. So that means I get to attack them down to 1. Here's Black Lotus. Normally a good card. As you saw on my turn. The Twister turn. So let's see. I think it's better to have 2 creatures in play than 2 Null Rods. Could be wrong. Let's see. If I have a Frog in play, my opponent can go... Oh, I guess the scroll is gone. But then my opponent can go answer for Null Rod. Pyro back. No, then they still have to kill the Bowmaster. Yeah, playing an additional creature here is the move. I attack my opponent down to 1. And now they have to kill 2 things, essentially. Either both of my creatures for a stall, or kill Null Rod, kill Bowmasters, and kind of go off. So, I don't know. Land? No, it doesn't work. They have 4 known cards and 1 unknown. I think they would just be drawing a ton of cards with... No, never mind. Yeah, I don't think they can do anything. It's like a lock. Because of Null Rod and Bowmasters. Because they would be beatable individually, but I don't think they're beatable here together. Also, Vintage is very time-consuming, so I don't think I've been playing very fast this game, but my opponent has half of the clock here, so you should really think about that if you play this at a tournament or on Magic Online. You can't just mess around too much. So, all right. That is a nice 2-0 with a bunch of mistakes, but that's, that's on brand for the channel. Let's grab one more. All right, last round of this vintage video, and we both like cats. Let's see if we can play an actual mirror this time, or it's still going to be the unfair version. You can't really decide, like, what do you play in these. Sometimes I complain about playing against, non-competitive decks. Sometimes you play against 3 of the same competitive deck. I can't really control these things, unfortunately. Let's see. Flutter Pass does not make me any wiser. I'm really considering this Lavinia. Wow, this Time Twister is interesting, but I think it's quite bad here, unfortunately. So if I go Black Lotus Petal, as I call it, on this Black Lotus, maybe that's not the move. Maybe that is not the move. What if I start on Lotus? I don't think that's good. Yeah, maybe. Okay, I'll start on Lotus. If I get pierced, I wasteland my opponent. If I don't, I proceed from there. Black Lotus resolves, and now I think I should protect my mana a tiny bit. So I'm going to let my opponent have a turn here with no Lavinia to worry about. I'm basically hedging this is a mirror match, but we'll know now. If they go Sewers, it's an actual mirror. Okay, cool. And if they went Meticulous Archive, it's the unfair deck. That's something that's very good to think about. So obviously, doesn't always work like that. And the opponent has made some strategical decisions. So worth noting is right now I am actually perpetrating the unfair deck with Scalding Tarn, which is kind of funny. But I still think Surveil is the way to move here. Bowmaster's on my calendar. Random removal spell is on my watch list here. So I think I just have to accept this game is going longer. Put a lane into the yard. We'd love to see it. So now my opponent has learned it's the mirror. Okay, so with this draw, I'm also casting Lavinia. I think if Lavinia eats a plow, it's just one less counter to worry about onto the frog, you know, one less targeted removal. Let's see what this is. Wonder what this is. Just the opponent casting a Bowmaster, I guess. Yeah, that's all goody. Bowmaster resolves. Lavinia resolves. So I like my spot here, I must say. Of course, bad things can happen, like Wasteland. Realistically, Time Twister is my pitch. Lure and Reveal is my next colored mana. I think this is totally fine. Like, that was a... Oh, Demonic Tutor, that's a good one. So, Demonic Tutor, I'm going to let that resolve. Yeah, I was just going to say Lavinia was going to be my Lightning Rod all along. When it resolves that card. So, I would love to draw Bowmaster, I must say. I think that would absolutely crush my opponent. Maybe even with their tutor target. Maybe I'm supposed to go Lurrus next turn. Force it through. I think that's decent. Just get that card into play, fight over it. Stops this aggression, I guess. Draw Force of Will. That's not bad. I like drawing Force of Will. So let's put Lurrus in the hand. Let's play Lurrus. Let's replay the Lotus from the yard. So I guess my opponent just found Ancestral Recall off the DT, and then basically said, I'm kind of cooked against Bowmasters, so I'm just gonna assume you don't have it. I'm gonna force this Ancestral. Pitching Time Twister. I think it's more likely I want to land or a draw 3 even, right? Draw 3 better than draw 7, confirmed. Yeah, I'm gonna fight over this. I'm gonna want my Lurrus in play, thank you very much. Hanging on to the frog here. Opponent could have Force Blue card here, and then this stack would be really cool. Like, that's some serious stuff, right? That doesn't happen. The opponent still has a couple of cards left. I don't think Wastelanding here does much for my opponent, I must say. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I think my opponent should have wasted my Wasteland here. It's just so much more likely that my opponent's in mana trouble than me, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to Black Lotus Petal the frog out, replay the Lotus. Yeah, I don't think you have an attack here, opponent, unless you have Lotus Bowmasters left in hand. All right. So I'm sticking my Lurrus. So I guess I should play like this. Blue. Wait a minute. I do allow myself to get force negated here. Maybe that's not a big deal. Let's replay Lotus. Okay, got it. So play Psychic Frog. Get my opponent out of which mana? Already cast Double Plow. If I go for the sewers and my opponent draws Sapphire, then they cannot cast Bowmasters. If I go for Tundra and they draw Sapphire or Jet, they cannot cast Plows. I'm actually going to go for sewers. Let's see how that works out. So I'm not playing this land. I'm not sure if that's correct. I think it's fine. And now we have a little bit of a funny dance with Frog versus Orcish Bowmasters. Let's see what this is. Hopefully it's just lore unrevealed. I guess Vexing Bauble is a card. Esper Mirror. That's pretty cool to round out this video with. So, ooh, sheesh. Treasure Cruise. And funnily enough, that's not a card I want to draw in particular. So here we can get our opponent to, you know, make choices like this by slow rolling a land. I actually quite like it. Now let's see. I draw Bowmasters. That's insane. Oh, baby. So now I think what I'm supposed to do is Bowmaster. Hope to get forced, essentially. So let's Orcish Bowmasters. I don't get forced. So now I can... I guess, should I make the frog fly here? Yeah, I think that's decent. Okay, the opponent's seen enough. Yeah, that was insane. Really, really cool with a double force turn. And then baiting my opponent into wastelanding, and then, I guess, drawing Orcish Bowmasters. So it's just very important. If you play out your Bowmasters first, you need a really good reason to, essentially. So my sideboarding for this matchup is super simple. I bring out the negations, because the matchup is so creature-centric, and this is just card disadvantage, right? And I bring out the Twister. I don't really believe it. Then I bring in 3 removal spells, make it up to 7 total, and then just a single spell bomb, because sometimes, you know, for actively shrinking the yard for Delve or interacting a little bit with Lurrus is solid, and then it just, you know, a cantrip artifact with Lurrus as well. I think this is totally reasonable. Still keep Force of Will because vintage is vintage. All right. Bowmaster superiority, Frog superiority, Lurrus superiority. Lots of cool things about maneuvering this matchup. Let's see. Reveal Lurrus. And I have an interesting one here. So, yeah, this is super cool. So if I draw land, I like where this is headed with regards to the Saga. But then again, all it takes is just one wasteland, right? Turn 1, Frog would be very annoying. Turn 1, Vexing Bauble, actually shutting off Lotus. We'll live with that. Okay, that's a cool one. Turn 1 Bauble. I'm actually going to do the same here, funnily enough. Ooh, I draw Wasteland. So maybe this is where I expose the Wasteland. I think that's good. So let me go. Vexing Bauble, pass the turn. Vexing Bauble versus Bauble, that's a little bit, like, weird, right? We had this for a long time where, in theory, both players could just be jamming that card, and the game was weird from there. Also worth noting is I'm quite bad against Psychic Frog. Okay, here's the Frog. And now my opponent can wasteland me if they want to. Forcing the issue there. That was kind of my strategy, right? That's for recall. Wow. So the problem is that card is not really that strong right now, but I feel like it should be my play. Cast Ancestral Recall, find a removal spell for next turn, hopefully. But then I have to go to clean up here. I hope my opponent's not considering countering it. That would be very bad. Okay. Decent cards. I think this is where I discard Force of Will. Because if my opponent cracks the bauble for whatever reason, I can now crack my bauble to set free the Lotus. Ooh, very strong. Okay, Wasteland playing a big part in this match. And now... Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough, opponent. Looks like we're going to game 3 here. The opponent did a good job. Being on the play, double box, bauble to negate my draw, essentially. So, yeah, that's just how vintage goes sometimes. All right, we're down to the last game of the video. Let's see if we can have a sweet one where a lot of small choices end up mattering. That could be chef's kiss. All right, let's try again. Lurrus. The opponent will do the same. And then I'll have an opening 7 to look at shortly. As always, thanks so much for hanging out. It's always a delight playing Magic on the channel, and Vintage has a very special place in my heart, I must say. Seasonally, I want to return to playing a lot of Vintage, so especially with my tournament coming up and the recent focus on Magic Online with the whatever it's called, the weekend tournaments and the super qualifier. That's where I want to be. So this, funnily enough, looks like a hand of Demonic Tutor for Force of Will. Play Frog and hope for the best. So if I play Lotus, cast Demonic Tutor, I think I'm in good yeah, that's fine. If Lotus gets countered, we have to rethink our situation. So the whole point is here that if my opponent has like a force and a removal spell, I'm in trouble. But if my opponent just has a removal spell, I force the removal spell, I wasteland them, I keep attacking, right? And then we get into a great situation for me. Let's cast Demonic Tutor. So now I should probably think about if it's better to just get Ancestral Recall. Okay, my opponent makes the choice for me. Shoot. Shouldn't play that land yet. Probe. Psychic Frog. Pass. Yeah. Okay, so they forced that card. It's kind of the same. Actually better for me because I got to probe. Let's see. Did the opponent just... Oh, they didn't. I was about to say, did they just find a plow? But they didn't. Mill over a bad card. Bauble. Okay, so let me draw here. Am I playing out that bauble? Time Walk. That is insane. Time Walk. Wow. So now, for my next trick... Okay, that wasn't the best game, I must say, but it is becoming a pretty good habit of 3-0ing these vintage videos. What is that, third in a row? Initiative, Jewel, and now this? Yeah, so the opponent's conceding here because that Time Walk not only leaves them in the dirt with the Wasteland, it also gives me an additional card, and they didn't even know that I drew the Jet, so I can even bring back Lurrus here. So I go land, Jet, bring back Lurrus, Wasteland the Sewers. Yeah, this is unreasonable. Even drawing an extra card with Frog. But yeah, vintage is a lot of fun, and sometimes you get fast games, sometimes you get, you know, long games with a million decisions, and this is certainly the deck for that. So if you like, I don't know, Delver, something like Mono Blue Terror and Pauper, that kind of thing, maybe this is a deck that you should pick up in vintage. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. It's a pure treat to play Magic here on the channel. I'm happy that you're tagging along for my journey over here. And yeah, let's do it again sometime. See you, buddies.